Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Imagine having the most important job in the multiverse, but nobody remembers you exist. Today, we're diving into the story of Access, the forgotten hero who literally holds the Marvel and DC universes apart. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how crossovers actually work, why characters forget meeting each other, and why this overlooked hero might be more important than ever.
And it couldn't be more timely, with Marvel and DC coming together for the first time in over 2 decades with their Batman and Deadpool crossover.
Wait, so who exactly is Access? Because I feel like most people have never heard of him.
Well, his real name is Axel Asher, and he first appeared in DC vs. Marvel #1 back in 1996. He was just a normal teenager in New York until he met this mysterious old man in an alley.
Ah, yes, the classic mysterious old man in an alley origin story. Never fails.
But here's where it gets interesting. This old man was protecting what looked like a cardboard box, but it was actually a portal between universes. And he revealed that Axel was next in line to become the Access.
The Access? That sounds like some kind of cosmic hall monitor.
That's actually one of his nicknames. But his job is incredibly important. You see, the Marvel and DC universes were originally one universe that split in two when these cosmic entities called the Brothers first fought.
Hold up, you're telling me Marvel and DC used to be the same universe?
According to the lore, yes. These brothers were like yin and yang, encompassing everything except each other. Their battle literally shattered reality into 2 multiverses.
That's wild. So what exactly does Access do?
His main job is keeping the universes separate. If they start to overlap, they could merge into what's called the amalgam universe again. He has to constantly move between universes to prevent crossovers.
You know what's funny? Before superhero crossovers, Marvel and DC actually collaborated on The Wizard of Oz.
That's right. It's fascinating how their first collaboration wasn't even superhero related. But speaking of crossovers, Access has some pretty incredible powers.
What kind of powers are we talking about?
He can create interdimensional gateways between the Marvel and DC multiverses, teleport within the same multiverse, and even time travel. But here's the really interesting part. If he stays in one place too long, he can accidentally cause spontaneous crossovers.
So he's basically a walking plot device?
Well, yes and no. He's actually crucial to maintaining the stability of both universes. And get this, he can even make people forget about crossovers once they're over.
Wait, that's brilliant. That explains why characters never remember meeting their counterparts in other crossovers.
Exactly. It's a clever way to explain why Spider-Man doesn't constantly talk about that time he met Superman.
You know, it reminds me of something interesting. Darth Vader merchandise consistently outsells Luke Skywalker 4-1. People love these complex, powerful characters.
That's an interesting parallel because Access is actually incredibly powerful. He once helped prevent Doctor Strange fate from merging the universes and even faced off against Darkseid.
So where is he now? With all these new crossovers happening, you'd think he'd be pretty busy.
That's the big question. We've got Batman and Deadpool crossing over, plus new digital crossovers like Flash, Fantastic Four, and Thor Shazam, but no sign of Access.
Tell me more about these new crossovers.
Well, as of November 2025, DC and Marvel are launching digital-first webcomics. The Flash is teaming up with the Fantastic Four, and Thor is meeting Shazam.
That's pretty exciting. Are these just one-offs?
Actually, no. They've announced more crossover webcomics coming in 2026. Plus, they're even offering free trial swaps for their digital subscription services.
So with all this collaboration happening, why isn't Access involved?
That's the frustrating part. Access is actually jointly owned by both Marvel and DC, which makes him uniquely positioned for these crossovers.
Hold on, both companies own him? How does that work?
Yes, he's one of the few characters with shared ownership. He was specifically created to explain and enable crossovers between the 2 universes.
That's actually pretty groundbreaking when you think about it.
It is. And what's interesting is that DC has actually used him in a non-crossover appearance. In Green Lantern MUC-87, he showed up looking for Kyle Rayner.
So he exists independently in both universes?
Exactly. He's officially a native of both universes, which makes him uniquely qualified to monitor these crossovers.
You mentioned earlier that he fought Darkseid. What was that about?
That was in a series called Unlimited Access, where he discovered the old man who gave him his powers was actually his future self, and an evil version of himself had joined forces with Darkseid.
Time travel and evil versions of yourself? Classic comic book stuff.
But here's what makes it interesting. Access actually absorbed his evil self and gained even greater powers in the process.
So he's potentially even more powerful now?
Yes, which makes his absence from current crossovers even more noticeable.
Let's talk about these current crossovers. What exactly is happening?
Well, Batman Deadpool Nug 1 is coming out November 19th, and they're doing backup stories pairing up other heroes like Captain America with Wonder Woman and Hulk with Harley Quinn.
Those are some pretty interesting combinations.
And that's exactly the kind of situation where Access would typically be involved, working behind the scenes to manage these crossovers.
So he's like the invisible hand keeping everything from falling apart?
Precisely. The search results indicate he usually works without anyone noticing he's involved. He's constantly preventing dimensional fluxes from becoming full-on universe mergers.
That's gotta be a pretty thankless job.
It is, but it's crucial. Without him, we could end up with another amalgam universe situation.
What exactly was the Amalgam Universe?
It was a temporary merger of both universes that happened in 1996. Characters from both universes were combined, like Batman and Wolverine becoming Dark Claw.
Batman plus Wolverine? That sounds both awesome and terrifying.
They actually published 24 one-shot comics in the Amalgam Universe, presenting it as if this merged company had existed for decades.
That's such a cool concept. Did Access help fix that situation?
Yes, he worked with Batman and Captain America, who each had a shard of their original universes in their hearts, to help break up the Cosmic Brothers' war.
So why do you think he's being left out of current crossovers?
Well, the search results suggest that with these being the first major crossovers in over 2 decades, it might be the perfect time to bring him back.
Do you think we'll see him return?
There's still a chance. The announced crossovers are just the beginning, with more planned for 2026.
Maybe he's already involved, working behind the scenes like always.
That would be very in character for him. Remember, he makes people forget about crossovers once they're over.
So, when you step back from all this, what's the bigger picture here?
Access represents something unique in comics, a character literally created to bring universes together while keeping them safely apart. He's the bridge and the boundary at the same time.
And maybe that's why we need him now more than ever.
Exactly. With Marvel and DC collaborating again, having a character who understands both universes could be invaluable.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Co-Pilot Podcasts. Remember, next time you read about a Marvel DC crossover, there might be an invisible hand keeping everything from collapsing into chaos. Thanks for listening.